All right, guys, I'm here with Steve Payne, owner of Firestorm Fit Camps in San Antonio, Texas. It's a privilege to be able to talk with him. He's a huge avid hunter. He's a supporter of the Second Amendment, and he's just an all-around good guy. Steve, thanks for joining us here today.
Hey, Nick, thanks for having me.
Not a problem, man. So I guess the biggest thing is, we have to kind of use our tagline, of course. Why would you say that you stay fit to hunt?
Well, I've learned over the years, I'll be 55 this year, and I've learned over the years that it's a lot easier to get to the stand, get out of the stand, take an animal, just the all around general hunting necessities when you're in better shape. When you have a good physical condition, you can just enjoy the hunt more. You're not taxed in some way. It doesn't detract from the overall concept of the hunt. Really, you and I both know the best part of the hunt is the guys you hunt with.
Of
And
course.
so if you're not a burden to them because of your physical conditioning and you can do a little more with them or for them, that just makes the hunt that much better. Plus, it gets you home safe.
Yeah, so speaking of that, the guys that you hunt with now, give us a little example. I know that you have been on quite a few hunts where some of the clients that hunt at some of the ranches that you hunt on down in Texas have been veterans. What has been your experience with those people?
Well, about 8 years ago, a couple of friends of mine and I got together and decided to start taking wounded warriors hunting. And so the guy that owns the ranch where we go graciously decided to let these guys come out and shoot some big deer. And so in the past few years, we've probably taken about 60 different, 70 different guys out in
Wow.
varying stages of, you know, combat situations. Some have been missing limbs, some have just been blown up and had some traumatic brain injuries, some balance issues. Um, all of them have been, pretty young guys. I think the eldest combat guy we took out was probably 45, 48, something like that. Most of them have been pretty young guys, so they're in pretty good shape. Now, in terms of physical conditioning, I mean, they don't have the most of them didn't have the level of training that I have or that I would advocate for um, somebody who wanted to do something, a fairly intense degree. So from that aspect, when we take these guys hunting, my job, at least my view of it, is to let them have a good time. All I want them to do is enjoy themselves, shoot. I do everything else. So I go get the deer, we clean the deer, we quarter the deer, we pack it in the freezer for them, we put it in the truck for them, everything. I want them to do the minimum amount of work just for their enjoyment standpoint. Not that they couldn't,
Right.
but it makes me a better host. And so being in shape allows me to be a better host.
All right. Speaking of that, obviously, it's packing an animal away and going and dragging it out of the field and everything like that is it can be pretty harsh, especially since you live in Texas where it's hot and dry a
Right.
very good portion of the year. What are your workouts like in order to be able to do that?
Brief, intense. Yeah,
Brief and intense.
I'm a big fan of the brief, intense training regimen. At my age, there again, I'm talking of somebody my age. I can recover much more readily from something like that. A long, drawn out affair is just not to my benefit either from a feasibility standpoint or a recovery standpoint. So I keep things short. I like to do 30 seconds, 40 seconds of work tops with a minimal rest period. Break things up into terms of the five big movement patterns. I do a lot of sled pushing, sled pulling, the ropes, slamming on the boxing bag, things like that, just
Right.
to keep things short, brief, and intense.
Right. So would you say, like, as far as like dragging an animal out of the woods, sled pushing is probably one of the things that you do on a very regular basis in order to make sure
Yeah.
that that stays
During getting ready for hunting season, yes, I
yeah.
do that quite a lot. Yeah, in
Awesome.
fact, we have my sleds. We have them set up in such a way that I can kind of grab a hold of a rope. Then
Hmm.
my buddies and I, we all call it the dead deer drag. So Yeah, it just
Uh,
makes it more fun that way.
so I also know that you have your own YouTube channel where you share a lot. It's called A Minute of Pain,
Right.
Payne.
Correct.
So, and you shared something a few months ago about water intake,
Hmm.
about your view of what it takes to stay hydrated, coming from the Texas area, San Antonio area. Can you give us a little bit of an insight as to what that video was?
Sure.
Um,
My view on water intake, I'm not a, I don't buy into this whole eight ounce glasses of water a day kind of thing. I think God gave us a pretty good sense of when we need water and the thirst response. But the bigger factor of hydration really isn't how much water you have, it's the level of your electrolyte minerals in your body. If you're looking for muscle activation, brain activity, things like that, your body responds to electrochemical stimulus. So if you get low in your electrolytes, I mean, that's where we run into problems with, cramping and that kind of stuff. So yeah, drinking water is important, but most of the water that you drink, if you drink it out of a tap, it's, tap equals crap in my mind. Then if you get water in a purified water from a bottle, you're effectively getting the white bread of water. There's nothing in it.
gotcha.
So you're not replenishing your body with the electrolyte minerals, the regular minerals that your body needs for proper hydration. And so I advocate supplementing with some sort of electrolyte minerals, especially that have the big five like magnesium,
Right.
potassium, calcium, sodium, that kind of thing. You got to have those, especially down here in South Texas where you sweat so profusely
Right.
for much of the year. And if you're at a deer stand in October bow hunting and it's 95 degrees outside, it
Right.
kind of sucks unless you shoot a deer. So
I think that might be the best way I've ever heard purified water described is the white bread of water. Might be the best way I've ever heard it described. Very
yeah,
nice.
it's just devoid of anything good for you. So
Right.
except water.
Right. So you've taken, obviously, you told us, you took upwards of, 60 guys hunting. That's a lot of animals that you've, seen taken, that you have taken yourself.
Sure.
Take an average hunter. What kind of advice would you give that hunter on the basis of fitness? What would you tell them to do, like beyond hydration, um, in order to truly stay fit to hunt?
Be strong. There's nothing that will benefit a hunter, whether he's getting ready to shoot, after the shoot, than being strong, being able to do things that you need to do. Um, Not only strong in the physical sense, but also the mental sense, cardiovascularly. Just being strong helps because it allows you to be prepared. Hunting has a certain responsibility, and a responsibility to yourself, to the environment, to the like God said, to be a good steward of the provision around you. So, in order to be a good steward, it makes sense just to be strong, and that way, when you're um, actually on the hunt, you have the endurance to do the hunt properly. Especially if you got to like climb a tree stand. A weak guy climbing a tree stand is a recipe for disaster.
Right.
So, being strong, being able to get the job done in an effective manner from start to finish is huge.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially for a lot of the people that are going to be watching this video. Steve, is there anything else that um, maybe that you have experienced as a hunter in your years of hunting that has kind of been almost like a surprise to you out in the field? Like any advice you can give on making sure that you aren't surprised in a dangerous situation?
It really is the people who take the responsibility of hunting so casually. You're in the woods with a killing device, be it a bow, a shotgun, a rifle, a knife, things that are designed to harvest an animal, and treating them like, it's some toy. The potential for danger, for killing someone or yourself, taking that responsibility casually is just stupid. don't do it. Take it seriously. It's a fun activity. It's one of the things that you provide for your family in terms of meal sources. You provide for your family in terms of memories, especially if you take your kids hunting or people you know. But doing harm in some detrimental way because of irresponsibility or not taking that firearm seriously, um, you're talking ruining lives in a matter of a heartbeat just from being too lax in your judgment and not being careful. So just pay attention to what you're doing. The main thing. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, Steve. Well, that's about all the time that I'm going to take from you. I appreciate you uh, joining us here today. If you want to see more of Steve, go and check out his YouTube page, A Minute of Pain, Payne. Some of the things he says are pretty straightforward, cut and dry, and he's just going to tell you how it is in some of those things. But it's definitely always fun to see what he has to say. Steve, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks a lot, and do go by and visit a Minute of Pain. You want to hear some old man wisdom or just babbling?
Awesome. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.